Edo State Command of the Nigeria Police Force on Saturday says it has arrested the eyes or servant of the gods or Juju chief priest, known in Bini language as Owen, Chief Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the Owen of Okoromi with human skull allegedly found in his house, alongside AK-47 guns found with the said gang members of the dethroned chief priest, who was reportedly deposed as the Owen of the Okoromi community by the Oba of Benin, after series of allegations of land grabbing and alleged abuse of his administrative powers as the traditional ruler representing the Oba of Benin and overseeing the affairs of the Okoromi community. The police said it has made the arrests after the disturbed and troubled-looking Juju chief priest went live on social media to accuse one of the prominent former motor park tax collectors in the state, Anthony Arden aka Tony Kabaka, of using police to harass him, his visitors and family members, while at the time debunking the state media reports that he has been suspended or removed as the Owen of Okoromi, saying he went to the palace of the Benin monarch. He was told he has not been dethroned or suspended. According to the police statement, the Edo State Command, in a sting operation carried out by operatives of the Command Intelligence and Rapid Response Squad alongside the Anti-Kidnapping Squad today the 17th of May 2025, arrested the recently dethroned Owen of Okoromi, one Volodymyr Kelvin, 43 years, Osa Rodion Omoregie, 41 years, Charles Otasoya, 55 years, Edwin Igbinovia, 45 years, and Asagie Igbinovia, 44 years. The following exhibits: 2 AK-47 rifles with breech numbers TH-4782 and 6683 respectively, 2 single-barrel locally made shotguns, 3 empty AK-47 magazines, 1 OFM magazine, 11 rounds of 7.62 mm ammunition and a suspected human skull were recovered from the premises of Ovokan Igbinovia Kelvin, the dethroned Owen of Okoromi, when search was conducted. The investigation is ongoing to recover other arms and ammunition in his possession and arrest his fleeing gang members. CP Monday Agbonika, FDC, assures the general public that the command would not be deterred or distracted in its resolve to rid the state of all forms of crimes and criminality. CSP Moses Yamu, the Edo Police Command spokesperson, stated.
Tony Kabaka, you are not the owner for Okoromi. I have not been suspended. Also, I have not also been suspended as the owner. I have not been suspended. Look at my kids. You people should come. Let the world see also. Let the whole world come to our rescue. Let Tinubu, President, let it come to our Okoromi rescue. I don't have where to go. I can't leave me and my children and my wife at home. Because Tony Kabaka, you know what police. It's a cop no, Pevolo. In my penny, I am with a government in hand. In my penny, I am with a professor who was a governor. No win election. Either you don't want to. I'm not a criminal. I'm just a winner for Okoromi.
Wow! Jose is dead, it is dead.
Shando.
FBT.
As the owner, I don't go to bush. As the owner, I'm not the one that is driving the Buddha. It's even your red children that is using Buddha to even walk if I thought there's Buddha.
No, what did I do to those guys?
No, ever since I've been staying in that community, we'll be fighting since. Remember,
the last supper, they called those guys. The night is this one, so me and yes.
I'm not scared of you that can just kill me, but you can't kill my soul. You cannot.
Because I was saying, I will have a people. I say, I am a man.
If I be bad person, I go there. I'll sit down for my house.
If you kill person, I say
if I get person, I'll sit down for house with my children.
You know, say you there bad man, you sit down for
I'll take my house.
You know, say me you more come up for us.
If my son had said, my God no will be for me.
At all.
My God personal. My God personal. Break my door, break my house, jump fence.
Go jump fence at us.
Then they drop letter. Governor sent for me. I come meet her. I not run for her. They said they suspend me for palace. I go over palace.
No, yes.
And I know yes they suspend me. Who? Lucky man, woman, mo yakboa. Lucky man. No, we are here. It's a motor on ye. After 8 years. 8 years plus now, since when I become a for Koromi. Now, we just win a big court judgment. Now, I don't say I be bad person. I scatter house. No, I still say they protest. All the whole protest, I don't say about us. I don't protest. My God personal. My God personal. My God personal, and I got to fight for one, the fight for himself. When I saw strong, when I know police, when I know everybody, but me I know God. And my children want to kill us. Kill us.
Drone strike fired by Russia army led by President Vladimir Putin has killed 9 persons, which included a full family involving the father, mother and the daughter after the military weapon of mass destruction hit a passenger's bus at the Bilopillia area in Sumy region of Ukraine early Saturday morning, signaling the ceasefire peace talks held during the week at Istanbul, Turkey was unsuccessful. It was gathered that the Russian soldiers launched the strike using a Lancet UAV on a passenger bus near Bilopillia in the Sumy region with a suspicion of hitting a military target, killing 9 civilians and injuring 7 others, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said are currently receiving treatments at the hospital. According to Zelenskyy, there are currently 7 wounded people in hospitals following a Russian drone strike on an ordinary passenger bus. The victims have suffered burns, fractures, and blast injuries. All of them are receiving the necessary medical assistance. Tragically, 9 people were killed. All the details are being verified. According to preliminary reports, the Russians killed a family. Father, mother, and daughter died in the attack. My condolences to all the families and loved ones. All the deceased were civilians, and the Russians could not have failed to understand what kind of vehicle they were targeting. This was a deliberate killing of civilians. Yesterday, as on any other day of this war, there was an opportunity to cease fire. Ukraine has long been offering this, a full and unconditional ceasefire in order to save lives. Russia retains nothing but the ability to continue killing. Pressure must be exerted on Russia to stop the killings. Without tougher sanctions, without stronger pressure, Russia will not seek real diplomacy. Yesterday in Istanbul, everyone saw a weak and unprepared Russian delegation without a meaningful mandate. This must change. Real steps are needed to end the war. We are expecting strong sanctions against Russia from the United States, from Europe, and from all our partners. Diplomacy must start working. I thank everyone around the world who is truly helping. Not with words, but with strength. Peace is essential. It may be interesting to know that the attack occurred just hours after Russia and Ukraine held their first direct peace talks in more than 3 years in Istanbul, Turkey on Friday. That has shown the meeting failed to produce a temporary ceasefire. The strike is the latest in a series of deadly escalations even as diplomatic talks between the two sides begin to resume. Commander Ihor Tkachenko, head of Sumy's military administration, confirmed, medics and rescuers have been urgently sent to the scene. Meanwhile, a local media in Ukraine had reported on Friday that Ukraine had repatriated the bodies of 909 soldiers who died fighting against Russia. The coordination headquarters for the treatment of the prisoners of war reported on May 16, according to Kyiv independent news media. The bodies of soldiers were recovered from Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Sumy, and Kharkiv oblasts as well as from morgues in Russia. We had reported that the Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelenskyy on Friday has said that the Russia war in Ukraine was moving towards ending this week if only that the Russian President, Vladimir Putin wasn't afraid of coming to Ankara, the Turkey capital on Thursday to have face-to-face peace deal talks with him in line with his own request for direct peace talks, which, Zelenskyy said made him to travel to Turkey in person, but it was a surprise. The Kremlin leader, President Vladimir Putin, instead sent a very low-level government officials to the Russia president proposed dialogue meeting in Ankara, although Russia and Ukraine have been wrestling for months over the logistics of peace talks with hopes of achieving such in the proposed Ankara peace talks. But days before D-Day, President Donald Trump of the United States, US had said that he sees no movement of Putin coming to Ankara until he and Putin get together, and according to President Zelenskyy, it was President Trump who told him publicly to immediately accept the Kremlin leader's proposal of direct talks. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy on Friday has said that the Russia war in Ukraine was moving towards ending this week if only that the Russian President, Vladimir Putin, wasn't afraid of coming to Ankara, the Turkey capital on Thursday to have face-to-face peace deal talks with him in line with his own request for direct peace talks, which, Zelenskyy said made him to travel to Turkey in person, but it was a surprise. The Kremlin leader, President Vladimir Putin, instead sent a very low-level government officials to the Russia president proposed dialogue meeting in Ankara, although Russia and Ukraine have been wrestling for months over the logistics of peace talks with hopes of achieving such in the proposed Ankara peace talks. But days before D-Day, President Donald Trump of the United States, US had said that he sees no movement of Putin coming to Ankara until he and Putin get together, and according to President Zelenskyy, it was President Trump who told him publicly to immediately accept the Kremlin leader's proposal of direct talks. President Donald Trump, who since on Friday had left the Middle East back home to meet his new grandson after his daughter, Tiffany Trump, announced she gave birth to her first child on Thursday, said he will meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin, as soon as we can set it up, to discuss Ukraine-Russia peace talks. According to Zelenskyy, I addressed the European Political Community Summit. This week, we had a real chance to move toward ending the war. If only Putin hadn't been afraid to come to Turkey. I was there ready for a direct meeting with him to resolve all key issues. He didn't agree to anything. I spoke with President Donald Trump together with President Macron, Federal Chancellor Merz, Prime Ministers Starmer and Tusk. We discussed the meeting in Istanbul. Ukraine is ready to take the fastest possible steps to bring real peace, and it is important that the world holds a strong stance. Our position: if the Russians reject a full and unconditional ceasefire and an end to killings, tough sanctions must follow. Pressure on Russia must be maintained until Russia is ready to end the war. Thank you to everyone in the world who is helping. United Kingdom, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said, if Russia is unwilling to come to the negotiating table, Putin must pay the price. Speaking to President Donald Trump, we are closely aligning our response to Russia's unacceptable position. While ending his Middle East tour on Friday, President Trump said, I would actually leave here and go meet Putin. I do want to see my beautiful grandson. It would be recalled that Ukraine and Russia have not held any direct talks since March 2022, shortly after Putin sent tanks over the border, beginning the first major land war in Europe since World War II. But, according to Reuters, hopes of a major breakthrough appear unlikely, with US President Donald Trump declaring there wasn't likely to be any progress in the peace talks until he meets with his Russian counterpart. Nothing's going to happen until Putin and I meet, President Trump declared.
I know nothing about a delegation. I haven't even checked. Look, nothing's going to happen until Putin and I get together, okay? And obviously he wasn't going to go. He was going to go, but he thought I was going to go. He wasn't going if I wasn't there. And I don't believe anything's going to happen, whether you like it or not, until he and I get together. But we're going to have to get it solved because too many people are dying. Thank you. You're going to land right now. Thank you. Now it's time to go back home. My daughter had a baby. I'm going to go back home and see that little baby. And then we get back to a lot of work. We'll see what happens with Russia and Ukraine.
When do you think you'll meet President?
As soon as we can set it up. I would actually leave here and go. I do want to see my beautiful grandson, it's a son.
It looks more like thanks so much, dear friend. Thank you so much, Eddie, Prime Minister Ramar. Thank you, and thank you, Albania, for hosting us today. Not just in a beautiful country, but in a country that believes in Europe and stands for its future. Dear friends, thank you all for your support, and I appreciate that we share the same understanding. This war Russia against Ukraine must be ended as soon as possible and in a just way. Ukraine needs peace. Peace in Europe depends on whether Ukraine will get it. All of you know that this week we had a real chance to take important steps toward ending this war. If only Putin had not been afraid to come to Turkey. I was in Ankara yesterday, and thanks for participation and hosting us, President Erdogan. And I was ready for a direct meeting with Putin, whether in Ankara or in Istanbul, and not just for a meeting, but to resolve all the important issues to my mind. But he didn't agree to anything. Putin, and you can also see that the Russian delegation that came to Istanbul is of a very low level. None of them are people who actually make decisions in Russia. Still, I send our team to Istanbul, led by Ukraine's Minister of Defense, at least to see if those Russians can actually decide anything. Our number one priority is a full, unconditional and honest ceasefire. This must happen immediately to stop the killing and create a solid basis for diplomacy, first of all. And if the Russian representatives in Istanbul today cannot even agree to that, to ceasefire, to this clearly necessary first step, then it will be 100% clear that Putin continues to undermine diplomacy. If that's not the case, there must be at least some result today, starting with a ceasefire. The Ukrainian delegation has a mandate to make decisions. As we saw yesterday, Russia sent almost the same people it sent in 2022. This shows that Russia has not changed its basic approach. They make many statements, many threats, but solve nothing. They are doing everything they can to turn this Istanbul meeting into a staged, empty process, just like the ones in 2022. It's not us or Western leaders who are disrupting the negotiation that the Russians have been claiming for years. It's Russians who send empty heads to the talks. And that's what destroys the meaning of diplomacy. So if it turns out that the Russian delegation really is just theatrical and can't deliver any results today, the world must respond. There needs to be a strong reaction, including sanctions against Russia's energy sector and banks. Pressure must continue to rise until real progress is made. Ukraine is ready to take all realistic steps to end this war. I call on Putin to give his delegation real authority, and we need a full stop to the killing, long enough to give diplomacy a real chance. Secondly, we must build at least a minimum level of trust in the negotiation process. This can be done by releasing prisoners of war, returning Ukrainian children taken by Russia, and releasing civilian hostages currently held by the Russian side. Third, we need to clearly define which issues must be handled at the leadership level, not below. And we all know who makes the real decisions in Russia. Fourth, together with our leaders and together with the countries who are here with us today, we have begun to create a new security architecture for Ukraine and all of Europe. I thank everyone who is on board. Now it's time to move to very practical steps. And fifth, the United States. President Trump wants to end this war. We need to keep working closely with President and stay as coordinated as possible. Long-term U.S. support is also essential. An American backstop is needed. It's important that we all work together on every level to make that happen. And of course, I will keep you informed throughout the day about what is happening in Istanbul and whether there is any chance the Russian delegation will take real steps to stop the killing and bring the war to an end. Thank you, Eddie, again for the invitation.
Osas Welcome Radio, bringing you the news in a more digital way.